Another point to note about the craft described by Bob Lazar is that the craft has no sharp edges. He describes that there are no sharp edges anywhere. Even where the ceiling meets the floor, everything has a curve to it, as if it was all fashioned out of wax. The reason that the craft's shape is so curved and smooth, both internally and externally, is because a byproduct of the propulsion system is a very large electric field. Now, when you have a strong electric field, it is important to prevent electric discharge. This is effectively what lightning is. And by having smooth edges serves to prevent the discharge. Another effect of strong electric fields is that air molecules become excited and start to emit photons of light. So the air around a UFO craft usually glows. It's very common in UFO sightings for people to see coloured lights or extremely bright balls of light. And this is because they are not actually seeing the craft. What they are seeing is the air around the craft glowing because of the electric field. Thomas Vallone is a leading scientist in energy and electromagnetics and claims that the US Black Ops government have craft which use inertial shielding. This is a shield around the vehicle to stop the inertial mass from having any sizable impact whatsoever. This means that the craft can accelerate at phenomenal speed because their own mass effectively is tiny. He believes that inertial shielding was back-engineered from UFO craft. In earlier years, Tom Vallone worked on a device called a homopolar generator. Basically, it is a metal disc which has a circular magnet attached to it and a metal shaft connected to the center of the disc. When the shaft is connected to a motor and spun, a voltage is generated between the edge of the metal disc and the shaft. These generators produce a low DC voltage, but a high current in the range of 10,000 amperes. He believes that the homopolar machine uses a similar effect to the propulsion system of some UFOs. An oval-shaped UFO, which is believed to have been witnessed hovering above Giant Rock in California, had two rotating discs. The size of the ship was about 50 to 100 feet in diameter. The discs were rotating in opposite directions, one of them producing electricity. There were 12 magnets around the edge. He believes that the two discs together produced an anti-gravity effect. There was also plasma which extended down from the craft. From what we have learned so far about UFOs, I can summarize some of the common characteristics one might observe. 1. They are uniform or smooth in shape. 2. The craft emit intense light, sometimes different colors. 3. The craft give off a strong electric field. And 4. The craft can produce a speed and an acceleration far higher than any known aircraft. In order to back this up, let's hear from somebody who actually saw and touched a UFO in England in 1980. My name is James Peniston, United States Air Force retired. In 1980, I was assigned to the largest tactical fighter wing in the Air Force at the time. I was stationed at RAF Woodbridge in England. I was the senior security officer in charge of that base security. At the time, I held a top secret US and NATO security clearance and was responsible for the protection of the war-making resources at that base. Shortly after midnight on the 26th of December 1980, Staff Sergeant Steffens briefed me that some lights were seen in Rendlesham Forest, just outside the back gate. He informed me that whatever he had seen didn't crash. He told me it landed. I discounted that and reported to the control centre that we had a possible downed aircraft. I then ordered Airman Kabanzak and A1C Burrells to respond with me off-site. When we arrived to the suspected crash site, it quickly became apparent that we were not dealing with a plane crash, or for that matter, anything else we've ever responded to. There was a bright light emanating from an object on the forest floor. As we approached it on foot, a silhouetted triangular craft, about 9 feet long and 6.5 feet high, came into view. The craft was fully intact and sitting in a small clearance just inside the woods. As the three of us got closer to the craft, we started experiencing radio difficulties. I then asked Airman Kabanzak to relay the radio transmission back to our control centre to act as a relay. Burrows and I proceeded towards the craft. When we came up on the triangular craft, there were blue and yellow lights swirling around the exterior, as though they were part of the surface. The air around us was electrically charged, and we could feel it on our clothes, our skin and our hair. Nothing in my training prepared me for what I was witnessing. After about 10 minutes without any apparent aggression, I determined that the craft was not hostile to my team and to the base. Following the security protocols, we completed a thorough on-site investigation. This included a full physical examination of the craft, which included photographs and my notebook entries that I had at the time, and the relays with the radio through Airman Kabanzak to our control centre. Those were acquired. On one side of the craft there were symbols that measured 3 inches high, and they were approximately 2.5 feet long. The feeling I had during the encounter was like no type of aircraft that I've ever seen before. It was not in the Jane's Book of Known Aircraft or anything I've seen since. After roughly about 45 minutes, the light of the craft began to intensify. Burrows and I then took a defensive position away from the craft as it lifted off the ground without any noise or air disturbance. It maneuvered through the trees and shot off at an unbelievable rate of speed. It was gone in the blink of an eye. In my logbook that I have right here, I wrote, "Speed, impossible." That night, over 80 Air Force personnel, all trained observers assigned to the 81st Security Police Squadron, witnessed the takeoff. The information acquired during that investigation was reported to my military channels. The team and witnesses were told to treat the investigation as top secret and no further discussion would be allowed. The photographs that we retrieved from the base, 2 rolls of 35mm, were of course apparently overexposed. Jim Peniston's testimony provides compelling evidence that a UFO landed on British soil. I recently read some letters that the MOD sent in response to Ralph Noy's requests for information about the Rendlesham case. The letters are nothing short of pathetic and show that the MOD know more than they let on. Here are a few extracts from the MOD's letters. I can assure you that no unidentified object was seen on any radar recordings during the period in question, and that the MOD has no knowledge of the tape recording or cinefilm you mention. As we have said in the past, the report sent by Colonel Holt was examined by those in the department responsible for the air defence of the UK, and since then there has been nothing to alter the view that there was no defence significance to the incident. Speaking personally, I can accept that people do from time to time see things in the sky which they find difficult to explain. I am sure you will agree that in many cases normal explanations come to light, such as falling meteors, satellite debris, or unusual cloud formations. When will our government come clean and admit what they know about UFOs? By keeping it secret, they must think we were all born yesterday.